Superman, a beautiful James Gunn mess. I often get called a shill for this movie until I talk about how much I like Man of Steel, and then I'm a Snyder cultist. But I am curious to see what parts of this movie they're calling a mess. Because honestly, I thought it was a good movie. Not a 10 out of 10, not a 9 out of 10, but a generally enjoyable film. I came out of there liking it, and as a Superman fan, I thought there was a lot of parts of the character that were just done right. So let's see what they're calling a mess.
Honestly, I go away on holiday for a few days and what feels like the biggest controversy in pop culture blows up across the internet. Out of all the movies I expected to be a lightning rod for conspiracy theories,
Even people like Moist Critical, when they were doing stuff, Penguin Z, like Charlie was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. He was like, I really don't want to touch this, but I thought I would. I mean, it really is, guys. It's way too big of a deal to people.
political tug of wars, and the kind of explosive fan warfare that makes the Snyderverse look like a polite disagreement over afternoon tea.
A lot of people have forgotten that the Snyderverse was not universally accepted. It was quite contentious, and the movies generally had like people kind of liked them, they didn't like them. It was like that's how it was. This one, everybody that went seemed to like it, which is different.
The last one I predicted was James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn. But not to worry, dear viewer, because the drinker is back to bring order out of chaos, restore balance to a world gone mad, and pronounce the final verdict on James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn.
Let's hear it.
And man, what a delightfully optimistic, frustratingly flawed, and thoroughly weird movie this turned out to be.
All right.
On the plus side, the
ears.
casting is excellent. David Corenswet turned out to be a perfect choice for the Man of Steel. The script doesn't try to diminish or deconstruct him, just to massage some smug filmmaker's nihilistic ego, but
I'm kind of shocked to hear critical drinkers say that he thought that David Corenswet was a good choice to play Superman. He's not being sarcastic, right? Like I'm reading this right. He's like, this is the thing done right. Casting was done properly. However, that's what he's doing, right? Because I thought that David did a good job. His Superman is different, but the one thing that they got right is they got the heart of Superman. I've been using the word character. I'm going to start saying heart because, he acts different than the other Superman. They all act different from each other. But the heart, I could see Superman in him. It was really cool.
instead presents him as a flawed but good-hearted man doing his best to navigate a complex world. There's a strong theme of heroism and positivity running through the movie, a refreshing lack of political agenda, and some genuinely great dramatic moments that made me think, yup.
A refreshing lack of political agenda. I can't tell if he's being sarcastic, guys. Even James Gunn said the movie was very political. I can't tell what I should be believing so far.
James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn actually understands what people want from a Superman movie. In short, its heart is definitely in the right place, and when James Gunn manages to get out of his own way, he's able to deliver a strong take on Superman that feels fresh and different but still vital and timeless.
Okay.
That being said, it's still very much a James Gunn movie with all the baggage that entails. The plot is a schizophrenic mess that drops you right into the middle of a story that's halfway told already.
That didn't bother me. It still doesn't bother me that it was dropped in like that. Like, some movies do that, it's not that crazy.
Humor that worked so well in the Guardians movies now feels forced, dated, out of place, and gratingly annoying.
I thought it could have been funnier. I thought it should. I know I'm in the minority young in this, guys. I thought it should have been funnier. I thought that they should have left in the jokes that were supposedly cut out. I like a good comedy. It was kind of fun that we were getting a comedy Superman that might do well. I like the Richard Pryor Superman as well, but
there's way too many characters for the script to sustain them all, and the story hinges on a big lore-changing revelation
I don't agree with that either.
I'm pretty sure is going to piss off comic book fans.
The same people that say that there was too many characters for the, whatever, they also say they didn't get enough of those side characters. They didn't know anything about them. It's like, that's why it wasn't overstuffed, because you didn't learn about those characters. They didn't try to give you the backstory of every side character like any regular movie.
Basically, James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn is a bit of a mess. A creative and well-meaning mess, but a mess all the same. Neither great nor terrible, but a flawed creation based on flawed ideas.
Okay.
And a perfect example of why just throwing a bunch of talented people together with no thought for their creative sensibilities doesn't always guarantee a great end product.
I don't know. I mean, he did cast for chemistry on Superman and Lois, which was a very smart decision. I'm not sure what he means by, not keeping in mind their creative sensibilities, because it seems like the people's talents were used quite well in the movie, I think.
Anyway, I'll give you a brief idea of the story so you know what you're dealing with here.
Oh, I know.
The film ditches the usual origin story and instead picks up a few years into
I
Superman's
like how he says usual origin story. When he's complaining that it just dropped you in. The usual, or, yeah, the boring, mundane thing that always happens that I wanted. It's like, what? Are you arguing against it or for it? Like that usual word. You should have just dropped that out, Critical.
career, where he's recently intervened to prevent a war in Eastern Europe, for now at least, and is busy fighting a losing battle to Ultraman. But it turns out this was all just a distraction by Lex Luthor so he could find the Fortress of Solitude and steal information that would allow him to defeat Superman.
Which was genius.
I mean, considering what Ultraman is eventually revealed to be, he already has everything he needs to take Superman down, but whatever, let's just go with it.
But he didn't. Don't you think he would have killed Superman if he could have? In those battles? Remember how Engineer was looking for him in the beginning and she was like, the alien's back. He didn't kill Superman. So instead, he utilized Ultraman to figure out more information about Superman to turn the people against him. Because as we know in history, turning the people against the dictators, that's the way to go.
Anyway, Luthor eventually finds and decodes a message from Jor-El telling Superman to conquer and subjugate the peoples of Earth, which naturally doesn't go down too well when it gets released to the public. Superman's forced to turn himself into the US government so he can try to clear his name, but instead he gets handed over to Luthor, who sends him to a pocket universe that he created to hold superpowered prisoners, because apparently that's a thing you can just do now.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Oh yeah, and if you were following the leaks, this is also where he keeps his army of mutants.
This wouldn't have worked in Man of Steel because this was trying to go much more not a realistic route. That when you get a tone from a movie and you're like, okay, they're going realistic, then you want to critique everything realistically like crazy. When they're going a comic book route like this, I didn't feel the need to critique things like the monkey bots. It's like, how can they train monkeys to... I don't care. It's comic book stuff,
monkeys chained to computers who work night and day to stoke anti-Superman resentment
That's
on
a
social
chimpanzee.
media. Yes, this is real.
They're
This is a
apes.
thing which is in the movie.
Right.
Honestly, a couple of dozen guys in an office in India could have done the same job with less effort, but what can I say? It's James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn.
Hey,
Also,
he got in trouble for talking about Indians, all right? So yeah, I understand why he went with monkeys instead. That doesn't offend anybody.
so you'd think the ability to create entire universes would kind of negate the need to fight one man for control of a tiny fraction of one planet. But again, whatever, just don't think about it too much. Anyway, with Superman out of action, it's up to Lois Lane to join forces with the Justice Gang. And yes, that's another thing which is in this movie.
You are now a life member of the Groovy Gang.
To clear his name and find a way to rescue him so he can stop Lex Luthor and his dastardly plans before they tear the entire planet apart.
Groovy!
Now, you probably don't need me to tell you that there was a fuck ton of expectation riding on this movie. Not only did it have to vindicate James Gunn as the new head of the franchise, but it also had to relaunch a whole new version of Superman, kickstart the entire DCU, and save the future of superhero movies single-handed.
Yes, that pressure, he's correct. That pressure was put on this film to do that. Put in the comments if you think that film succeeded in all of those goals. Or do you think it didn't? It also needed to, I don't think you said this, outshine Zack Snyder's Superman and fix the problems that Snyder's Superman caused. Every new Superman causes problems, though. They all do. They bring about new problems that the other ones need to fix, or new ones need to fix. So let me know if you think that happened.
Because let's be honest here, something tells me the Fantastic Four isn't going to get the job done. It was a pretty tall order to begin with, and to be honest, I'm not sure it accomplishes any of those things, never mind all of them. Like I said before, there's definite positives to be drawn from this film, so don't go thinking it's all doom and gloom. David Corenswet was a solid casting choice for Superman. He's earnest and sincere, he's definitely got the right look for the character, and he plays well off Rachel Brosnahan as...
I'm shocked that he's saying this because a lot of the people in the school of thought that he is in, they say that David is a terrible Superman. I'm really surprised. It may be the same reason I liked him as Superman, because you could see the heart. You could see that. You saw it and you were like, yeah, Superman would do that. You know what I mean? He may not say, what the hey dude, but that's just a modern update. He would indeed revert from doing the worst thing to the dog for messing up his, place. He also would, save everybody he possibly could and sacrifice himself to do so, which was really cool.
Lois Lane. In the hands of a different creative, a modern-day Lois could have come across as a smug, abrasive girl boss, but she never does. She challenges him on his beliefs at times, but it feels like it comes from a well-intentioned place.
See, I felt like that too. People acted like she was being, I did feel like she was just being objective. She was a little harsh, sort of, but also at the same time, being objective can seem that way with somebody that you would expect to be your yes man. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, oh, you're on my side, you're my buddy. Like when I say jump, you say how high, and she's like, no, I'm asking why you're jumping at all.
Some insecure need to assert moral superiority over him. Krypto the Superdog was another divisive aspect of the trailers. Some people loved him, others hated him, but really, he's not a big deal in the movie at all.
No.
He shows up from time to time when the script needs him, and then conveniently vanishes when it doesn't.
Yeah, I was told he stole the show. I don't think anybody in this movie stole the show but Superman. I really think David stole the show. And that is not what I've been told by everybody. Everybody's like, oh, terrific, stole the show. Guy Gardner stole the show. Krypto stole the show. Nobody said that Hot Girl stole the show. Not a single person.
Justice Gang are a bit of an odd choice though. Apart from Mr. Terrific, they don't have much to do except fight the odd monster in the background. And that really pisses me off because Nathan Fillion deserves better. There was also a pretty huge debate raging around whether this film had some political axe to grind, mostly due to a misquoted Variety interview with James Gunn that was then amplified by absolute like Mark Melkin.
But Agatha is the gayest, gayer and gayer as each episode goes.
I hate so much
I don't know anything about what that is.
To be.
You can almost feel how desperate he is to lead the cast into saying something, anything controversial for clicks and retweets.
Superman is an immigrant story, that it is political. MAGA today was getting a little upset that he called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
Superman is a refugee, and a refugee is an immigrant. It's kind of like one of those, all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs situations. You know what I mean? Like he's a refugee. He's not an immigrant in the sense that he was just like, getting tired of Krypton. I'm thinking Earth. He had it was going to blow up. His place was blowing up. So that's refugee. The interesting part about Superman's story is that there is no legal precedent for an actual alien from another planet. We have no reciprocity or anything for like that. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing there. So it is interesting what would happen in our day and age if he landed. Would his parents have to go on a legal route? I like the way Smallville handled it. That was really cool. Y'all should check that out.
Your brother talked about Superman being an immigrant, and now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
Was MAGA upset? I don't. What is MAGA? Is MAGA, or is he talking about as a group of people, or like Trump himself? I don't even know what he's I think he's right. He's trying to get clicks off of him is what he's doing.
You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
Seriously guys, in case you haven't figured it out by now, entertainment journalists are not your friends and never have been. Anyway, all that aside, I'm happy to say that James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn absolutely isn't a political movie. It's not out to lecture you on anything, and it's not trying to make a statement on modern day issues. As Nathan Fillion says,
it's just a movie, guys.
The only problem, though, is that it's not a particularly good Superman movie, and a lot of that problem stems from James Gunn himself.
I did enjoy the movie. I came out literally, my wife and I, we generally had an enjoyable time. It was enjoyable.
I think it's about time people stopped worshipping this guy like he's some cinematic messiah sent down to save Hollywood. His recent track record has been spotty at best, and although he's definitely good at what he does only works within a pretty narrow comfort zone, and if he's forced to step too far outside it, he seems kind of lost and uninspired.
I'm not really a director guy, so let me know if what he's saying makes sense and if that is true. I don't know much about James Gunn. When he was being picked for this, I was told he was the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, and I liked Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think it was around that time I also heard stuff about him, like with Jenna Fisher, and I was like, oh. So that's about all I really knew, which is about as much as I know about any Hollywood person. There's stuff I like about him, and there's stuff I don't.
Feeling he would have much rather made a Justice Gang movie because it would have played to all his favourite sensibilities as a filmmaker, forcing another bunch of likeable misfits to work together to take down a bigger threat. But there was too much riding on this film for him to trust it to anyone else, and so we ended up with a Superman movie that can't quite seem to keep its focus on Superman.
I do wish Superman was focused on more. However, it wasn't so much that it was some big problem. I just wish that they hadn't have included the other characters at all. That's just how I am with Superman. I'm not a DC guy first. I'm a Superman guy first. And I prefer the stories like Man of Steel or, Superman Returns where there's no other heroes involved. I like that. I want to just talk about Superman.
Another shortcoming of Gunn's that's become more obvious in recent years is the humour. When it comes to writing dialogue, Gunn is basically a second-generation follower.
Let me know if you fall in that line of thinking like me, where it's like, I want to see hero movies that don't have the other heroes in them. Just that hero. That's what I want. Let me know.
Whedonism. Much like Taika Waititi, he seems to understand what made Joss Whedon's writing so effective in superhero movies and definitely knows how to replicate it effectively,
Okay.
but what he lacks is Whedon's finely tuned sense of restraint. A bit of carefully crafted levity at just the right moment can really enhance a dramatic scene, but too much at the wrong time soon becomes an irritating distraction, and
Did he see Justice League? Joss Whedon had his chance. Did you see Justice League? The Snyder cut of Justice League is good. Snyder knew what he was doing with that movie. I don't like the way Superman is handled in the DCEU, but I was very interested to see where they were going.
that's exactly what Superman suffers from. Every time the movie's on the brink of some intense, heartfelt moment, it's almost always undercut by some shitty, badly executed joke, like it's afraid to ever take itself seriously. Not every movie has to be Guardians of the Galaxy, James. You're allowed to move on in life.
See, I never got a Guardians of the Galaxy feel from that movie. I got a James Gunn feel, I guess you could call it, because I could see, like, it's like when you hear a John Williams theme. Each one is different from each other. They're not the same. But you can kind of tell, oh, this is John Williams. That's why I like it so much. You know what I'm saying?
There's just so much thrown at you in this film, so many characters that don't get the time and space they need to breathe and develop, so much world
But I didn't need them to develop. I don't need to know more about Guy Gardner or Hot Girl. I don't need to know more. They just need to serve the purpose in the story. I thought he was going to utilize this, though, to make a whole bunch more movies about these people. That's not, it was going with Supergirl and Clayface. They weren't even,
change in technology and truncated subplots that it becomes kind of overwhelming after a while. By the time the credits rolled, I actually felt tired of it all. It's a film that never quite finds its narrative focal point.
I didn't get
that's
that
in
feeling.
such a rush to introduce so much new stuff that it ends up getting in its own way. And it doesn't help that it feels like
The only way I felt like that was the interview scene with Lois and Clark. Well, it was very dialogue-y, very wordy, and a lot of information that you needed to know. That was the only place where I was like, oh, how's this movie going to turn out? It started picking up, things started happening, and you knew all the information now, and now they were just putting the pieces together. That was about the only spot, but it was the beginning of the movie, and the beginning of the movie, I was really nervous. I was like, oh man, is this good? I've already seen all these clips. Then they're doing this big long interview. When it started getting to stuff I hadn't seen as much, and it was starting to be stuff that, was really like bringing the story together, I had a very good time.
we're dropped into a story halfway through the telling, like there should have been another movie before this one to properly introduce Superman, Lex Luthor, and the Justice Gang. Instead, they're all just thrown into the mix without any explanation, like we're just expected to know who and what everyone is.
That's how Lex Luthor was, and Otis was in Superman the movie, 1978. Just you don't get a lot of backstory. It's just boom, there it is,
And yeah, I know most people know who Superman and Lex Luthor are by this point, but this isn't just a new version of these characters we're seeing here, it's a complete relaunch of the world that they're part of. It should be epic and significant, but instead it just feels like the middle entry of a trilogy, or a by-the-numbers mid-phase Marvel movie. Just business as usual, just another forgettably mid-superhero flick that happens to have Superman in it. Add all these problems together and you end up with a film that's somehow overshadowed by its own creator, that can't seem to get out of its own way, and that fails to live up to the impossible expectations placed on it. Superhero movies really have...
So you mean expectations what the movie lines up, or expectations like gonna save superhero films and reboot the DCU and all that kind of stuff?
reached a fork in the road of destiny this year and desperately needed something to get them on the right path again. The Marvel juggernaut has fallen to pieces, Sony have abandoned whatever the they were hoping to accomplish with the leftovers, and DC have been unsuccessfully relaunched and reinvented more times than Katy Perry at this point. None of it seems to be working, and as much as this movie makes a valiant effort, I don't think James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn is gonna turn it around. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Guys, Critical Drinker's a funny guy. I don't totally agree with this, but this honestly isn't that bad of a review of Superman. Like, it's not a perfect movie. He sounds like he's putting it at about like a 5 or 6. I give it an 8.2. It's not a 9. It's not even a high 8. It's not a 10. But it's generally an enjoyable movie. And Superman's character was handled so well. I enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out my Amazon store where I have all sorts of Superman stuff in one place. And remember, guys, like Superman, live humbly, do good.